Let's unpack both the economic and political impact of this major news with CTV's Washington Bureau Chief, Joy Malbon. She's with us live, as is CTV's newly named Chief Financial Correspondent, Amanda Lang. Hello to both of you. Thank you so much for making time for the conversation. Joy, I'll start with you. We laid out there just how many times Trump and his delegates said what happened today would not happen. So what forced their hand?
You know what? I look for clues. I feel like I'm a Trump whisperer in many ways. We heard from him several times today. Oh, it's true. But first, the White House insisted that this was the president's plan all along, saying that this was part of his strategy, selling this as Trump's art of the deal. But just a few hours ago, Donald Trump was telling people, posting on Truth Social, telling the world and markets, just be cool, hang in there, I got this. I know what the, quote, hell I'm doing. And then suddenly this big reversal. It's a number of things. He said the 75 countries that decided to negotiate. There was a bit of a clue in one of the clips you played there as well. He was watching the financial markets. He was watching the bond markets. He talked about people getting queasy and yippy and fearful and afraid. This is someone who used to put a lot of stock in watching the markets. So why did he change his mind? All of those things, all of the above, it seems to be. But again, the White House still insisting this was all part of the plan.
Let's talk a little bit, Amanda, about the markets, because we have been, since last Wednesday, on a true roller coaster ride with so much volatility. I was thinking of you today, and what I wanted to ask you initially was, like, why, and this might be the wrong way to describe it, but why do they appear to be so fickle? Like, I was sort of taken aback at how, as soon as the 90-day reprieve was announced, they shot up to such a degree, when we know that, like, tomorrow he could change his mind, or that, they may come back in 90 days. Like, why are they so responsive in this moment?
It's an interesting question, and we should keep in mind stocks haven't recovered all of the losses of this little period of time. So we're about 2/3 back from where we were April 1st, before a global tariff war kicked off. Why they move, I was shocked, Vashi, at the 12% move in tech stocks today. Some of that is because now they can move that quickly. It's program-driven, it's computer-driven, and it's reassuring in the sense that whatever they were pricing in a global trade war, they can take out today. There's some logic to that. It's not a healthy sign to see markets that are moving in this way. These kinds of swings say something erratic is at play, something that is not conventional, not normal, not expected. And for investors and economies, those are not good adjectives. So I look at this. I hope that for a lot of people whose savings are dependent upon markets doing well, we see recovery, but it isn't a sign of health for the markets that they have to have these kinds of swings. And we should also keep in mind that when markets do this, and it goes back to the question that you put to Joy, which is, did Trump know all along that this was the intention? If he did, that is actually a really dramatic thing. To let that sink in, because he allowed carnage to take place for individuals. People sold stocks in the last few days. They locked in losses because they had to. They don't get that money back. They're not still in the market. If you stayed in the market, it's just a blip. If you sold or you bought at the wrong time, you've lost money here. And those are real humans who are impacted.
Yeah, a very good point. Joy, the Canadian context I raise, of course, everyone in Canada kind of waiting by our TVs to figure out, oh, does this mean more tariffs? Does it mean a reduction of the ones that are in place at a scale of 25%? Turns out the White House is saying at this moment in time, it's status quo. What are you watching for on that moving forward? Because the president has also speculated about pharmaceutical tariffs or additional lumber tariffs. Like, how prepared should we be for that, and how soon?
Be prepared for the pharmaceutical tariffs. He has talked about that today, and I was watching these executive orders that he was signing, all sorts of things from military, all the rest of it, to water pressure and straws, and he wants people investigated. Anyway, these executive orders as he signs them, but he didn't mention anything when these pharmaceutical tariffs would happen, and these would be, of course, drugs that are imported into this country that Americans rely on. It was interesting. He didn't mention Canada, but he did hardly at all during these two different pressers. But he did say that any country that retaliates, he will slap tariffs on them. So for now, it's almost good to be kind of keep quiet and see what he does next. But it really is whiplash down here right now.
And there are, as of midnight last night, Amanda, Canadian counter tariffs on autos that went into effect. Your view, I mean, of, I guess, the wider economic impact at this juncture. I feel like every few days I'm asking you that because the news changes almost every few days. But the one thing that remains constant, rather, is the uncertainty around all of this. Does this 90-day reprieve ultimately change anything in economic forecasts, or you know, is the risk still very high of a recession?
The risk is still very high of a recession. We see that, and economists think that's baked in now. A lot of economists who see a recession coming, because it could happen as soon as this quarter because of the damage that's been done. I mean, what I'm hearing from people, I was on the phone with somebody in the auto parts industry today trying to understand how they're literally managing through this. Do you ship the product? Do you hold the product? And he said a lot of what he's seeing is people pausing, not shipping things. And remember what we saw in the pandemic. When global supply chains get a hiccup, it ripples through the whole economy. So the tariff war with China will continue to have an impact for that reason. And the confusion around what is content that is CUSMA compliant is causing a slowdown and a pause that will have an economic impact that is already baked in some ways.
Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much, both of you, for making time for the conversation. I appreciate your insights this evening. Joy Malbon and Amanda Lang.